2nd, 2012. This is Texan TV News from Tarleton State University campus in Stephenville, Texas, and I am Becca Escobar. In today's headlines, students living in Honeywell Annex have experienced what they consider paranormal activity. October's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. A Fort Worth man was killed while trying to help after a car crash. Hurricane Sandy is making its way to the northeast. A 7.7 earthquake shakes Canada. Now today's top story. With Halloween creeping up, tales of ghouls and ghosts arise. Though ghost stories become more than stories at Resident Hall Honeywell Annex, Tarleton State University, residents living in Honeywell Annex have had experiences with objects they cannot explain. On the 3rd floor, in my friend Selena's room, I was spending the night, and I jokingly told her she'd better turn off the lamp before the ghost did. And when she went to reach for it, it turned off and fell over, said Kylie Martell, a Tarleton student who lives in Honeywell Annex. I hear what sounds like marbles dropping and my drawers are opened randomly, said Maddie Miller, a student who lives in Honeywell. My brush would fly off from my dresser and my chairs wouldn't stay under my desk. Weird stuff like that, said Dana McLeod, a resident leader who lives in Honeywell. Not only having strange experiences with objects, residents living in Honeywell Annex have felt they have had physical and mental encounters with what they believe to be a ghost. One time I woke up from my 8 a.m. class and I was completely conscious and felt a hand pressed down on my bed by my knee. Another night I was lying on my bed with my legs up near my chest and felt something grab my legs, said Martell. In regional news from the Empire Tribune, just because October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, it's not the only reminder that domestic violence reaches every aspect of our civilization. Last week, a man went into his wife's place of employment in Wisconsin and killed her and 2 of her co-workers before shooting himself. So far this year, 349 clients affected by domestic abuses have helped by the Cross Members Family Services. The majority of them are women. Erath County Sheriff Tommy Bryant said that his officials deals with lots of circumstances of the family violence and understands the struggles associated with women who have had a hard time leaving the situation. Women who need to seek help and alert authorities never fall into a false sense of safety. While restraining orders and emergency protective orders are important and useful by ordering abusers to keep away, it's only a piece of paper. Women can get a false sense of security when they obtain a protective or restraining order. Sheriff Bryant said it's just a paper and it's not bulletproof. The CTFS can offer temporary shelter for those trying to escape domestic abuse. This year has provided shelter to 13 women and children in the county. Bryant says it's important for victims to alert their supervisors and co-workers in their place of employment about the possibility of danger. It's important for the victims and people around them to be on the alert. School officials need to be alerted if there is children involved. It's also a good idea to ask law enforcement to do a patrol around where you will be at for security, according to Bryant. Though many people want to keep it quiet and not talk about it, those abused and feel threatened should arm themselves and take precaution. Bryant says get a gun and learn how to protect yourselves, which is very important. Sheriff Bryant and Lucero want to remind those who need help and find themselves in an abusive situation that help is available. Now today's national and international news from the Associated Press. The Fort Worth police say the man who stopped to help after a car accident was killed when a vehicle struck a parked car that then hit the man, causing him to fall off the highway. The Dallas Morning News reported that the police said he was one of several passers-by who stopped to help early Sunday morning after 2 cars traveling south struck an abandoned car on Interstate 35 as the helpers gathered. A vehicle struck on their parked car, sending it into the man's direction. The man was struck and fell off the elevated I-35 onto Rosedale Street, the street below. 17-year-old Joshua Kaluzanak of Grandview, Texas, died at the scene. The driver who hit him was identified as Roland Director, 43, and was arrested for the charges of intoxicated manslaughter. Police are investigating whether another car struck Joshua after he fell from I-35. There were no other reported injuries. Now, national news. Hurricane Sandy is still making its way toward the mid-Atlantic and northeast, bringing with devastating waves and full moon-powered high tides. Sandy is expected to become a 5.8 on a 0 to 6 scale. Sandy stands more than 1,000 miles across with tropical storm force winds that will add to the pummeling power when it comes ashore. An Arctic blast from the north and winter storm front with a low pressure through have combined together, and Hurricane Sandy will meld with those once it comes ashore, creating a hybrid storm with some of the nastier characteristics of a hurricane. Experts have said, forecasters said, the hurricane could blow ashore Monday night or early Tuesday along the New Jersey coast, then cut across into the Pennsylvania and travel up through New York State on Wednesday. In international news, a 7.7 earthquake shook Canada Saturday. It was the biggest quake in Canada since 1949. No major damage was reported. Parts of British Columbia were evacuated, but the province seemed to be unscathed by the massive quake. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center lifted its tsunami advisory for Hawaii, Alaska, Washington, Oregon, and California. Sports from TarletonSports.com reports that Jake Fenske completed his first 13 passes on Saturday, tossed 5 touchdowns, ran for 1 score, and passed for 280 yards while leading the Texans to a 45-20 Lone Star Conference win over the Incarnate Word at Gale and Tom Benson Stadium in San Antonio. The Texans reached the 40-point mark for a second time this season and posted its largest score in a game since putting up 48 points against UIW in Steubenville last season. The Tarleton volleyball team lost this weekend against the number 11 West Texas A&M that ended their 9-game winning streak. They're still ahead of West Texas A&M for second place in Lone Star Conference by half a game. The weather for this week will continue to be in the low 60s for the rest of the day, then it's back to the high 80s for the rest of the week. Today's broadcast was produced by Kiana Perez, Jordan Simons, and Ryan Michoud. You can follow us on ustream.tv/user/Texan News Service. Don't forget to tell your friends about us and become a fan of Texan TV News on Facebook. I'm Becca Escobar. Tune in tomorrow for the latest news from Tarleton State University campus in Stephenville, Texas.